Jon Moxley retains the AEW World Championship in a chaotic world title match against Orange Cassidy last night at AEW Full Gear. Bobby Lashley makes Swerve Strickland submit to the Hurt Lock last night at Full Gear. We'll let you know all of the details on that. Plus, Daniel Garcia, the brand new AEW TNT champion. Kyle Fletcher scoring the biggest victory of his singles career over Will Ospreay last night. Switchblade Jay White once again defeats Hangman Adam Page. Konosuke Takeshita still the international champion. Mariah May attempts to turn on Mina Shirakawa, but she sees it coming. Mercedes Moné is still the AEW TBS champion. MJF defeats Roderick Strong and draws out Adam Cole with a post-match attack. Private Party still the AEW tag team champions. Paul Wright returns, accompanied by the Rizzler, because the Costco guys are victorious, defeating QT Marshall. And Ricky Starks appears in GCW and says he's tired about being frozen out. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with Jon Moxley, and still the AEW World Champion after defeating Orange Cassidy in a chaotic conclusion to Full Gear last night. Jon Moxley is still the AEW World Champion after a brutal match of Orange Cassidy in the main event of Full Gear. But his next challenger is still a mystery, and Christian Cage looms over his reign with his title match contract. On top of it all, Moxley and his Death Riders barely escaped a car crash at the hands of Darby Allin, who also looks to be challenging the current champion. Cassidy put up a fight against Moxley, starting the match off hot by hitting 3 orange punches right off the bat. The pair brawled outside of the ring for a good portion of the match, and Cassidy was quickly busted open. Moxley even bit at Cassidy's injuries and fingers. The challenger wouldn't be kept down, however, even when he was almost counted out, motioning to the referee to stop counting as he slowly got back in the ring. Cassidy would get his hands in his pockets and hit Moxley with his kicks, following them up with an orange punch, then another followed by a beach break, and the champion barely kicked out. The conglomeration came out to help when Claudio Castagnoli and Pac appeared from the crowd. Marina Shafir got in the ring with briefcase in hand, but Willow Nightingale made her return and took out Shafir. Cassidy hit Moxley with the case, but he kicked out. While the referee was checking on Moxley, Wheeler Yuta appeared and hit a Psycho knee to Cassidy, allowing Moxley to get the victory. Now, after the match, Wheeler poured a bottle of chemicals into Cassidy's mouth and eyes. Hangman Adam Page came out, chair in hand, and stood face to face with Moxley. Christian Cage also came down to the ring, hit a kill switch to Moxley, but Page grabbed Cage's contract. He slowly gave it back to Cage, but then Switchblade Jay White came down to the ring and hit a Blade Runner to Cage. As the chaos was happening in the ring, Shafir helped Moxley to the back as the Death Riders looked to make their escape in their truck. A car blasted through the backstage area and smashed into it. The stable stole an SUV that was outside as Darby Allin got out of the car, shouting at Moxley as they drove away. Now, Bobby Lashley was successful in his AEW pay-per-view debut last night. Fresh off his victory on Dynamite, Bobby Lashley finally got his hands on Swerve Strickland at AEW Full Gear. And while Strickland was neither pinned or made to submit, Lashley still walked away with a victory in his AEW pay-per-view debut. With the rest of the Hurt Syndicate surrounding the ring, Lashley body slammed Swerve the moment the bell rang. The Syndicate would get involved throughout the match, including a spot that saw Shelton Benjamin grab Swerve's leg, but the referee Stephon Smith caught it and immediately kicked him out. Benjamin was furious, but MVP made him leave. Later, Lashley dragged the ring steps away from the ring and attempted to send him into them, but his opponent escaped and sent Lashley into them. The former champion followed up with a DDT off the apron. At Prince Nana's direction, Swerve performed a vicious swerve stomp through the announce table. Back in the ring, he delivered a house call and a swerve stomp from the top, but Lashley kicked out of the ensuing pin attempt. On the outside, Strickland got in MVP's face. This distraction allowed Lashley to regain control and spear him through the barricade. Back in the ring, he hit another spear and put him in the Hurt Lock until he ultimately went to sleep, passing out in the hold and giving Lashley the victory. After celebrating his first pay-per-view win, the Hurt Syndicate put Prince Nana in the ring so Lashley could also put him in the Hurt Lock. Daniel Garcia is the brand new AEW TNT champion. He overcame the scapegoat Jack Perry to win the championship at Full Gear, his first title in the promotion. Much of the bout in its early stages was fought with great leniency on the outside of the ring. Daddy Magic Matt Menard, Garcia's mentor, was on commentary for the bout and got in the face of the TNT champion, being implored by Excalibur and Tony Schiavone to not cause a disqualification. But then Perry put Garcia through a table with a powerbomb in the timekeeper's area, further dumping trash and the announcer's desk to cover upon him. him, rolling him back in the ring for the referee to make the count. Garcia managed to return to the ring in the count of 9, and Perry sought to once more grind him down, but Garcia landed an exploder suplex to get back into things. Perry handed the TNT title bout to Garcia, trying to lure him into striking him with it, but Garcia handed the title to the referee. As the referee disposed of the bout, Perry delivered a low blow to Garcia, followed by a running knee, but only for a near fall as Garcia once more fought back. He would hit a power driver for a near fall, prompting Perry to smirk at him before landing another driver and locking in the Dragon Slayer for the submission. Perry's title reign ends at 147 days on his 8th defense, with Garcia winning his first singles title since the Ring of Honor Pure Championship in 2022. Now, the biggest victory of Kyle Fletcher's singles career came last night as he defeated his former best friend Will Ospreay. He's been doing his best to separate himself from Ospreay. Fletcher's antagonism came to a head on Saturday when he bested Will Ospreay at Full Gear. Ospreay and Fletcher both used every tool in their arsenals, and some moves fans hadn't even seen before, with Fletcher even kicking out of a hidden blade dramatically, but it was a vicious brain buster from Fletcher that finally put Ospreay down for the count. The former Ring of Honor World Television Champions manager Don Callis was on commentary for Fletcher's victory over Ospreay. After the match, Fletcher's former partner Mark Davis came out to help Ospreay following the loss. Now, it's not clear what's next for Fletcher. The Don Callis family member Konosuke Takeshita is currently the AEW International Champion, meaning Fletcher is not likely to challenge for Ospreay's old title, but that still leaves AEW TNT Champion Daniel Garcia, AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, or possibly a run in the Continental Classic tournament in hopes of challenging AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada in the future. Switchblade Jay White, he was successful last night at AEW Full Gear. He's been on a mission since returning from injury, destroy Hangman Page. Heading into their rubber match at Full Gear, they were 1-1 in their recent feud, with White picking up the victory in their last match, but White was 4-1 all time against Page in singles action heading into the match, and he was 5-1 coming out of it. The story of the match was Page focusing his energy on White's ankle. They battled up the ramp and Page used the barricade to further cause damage to his opponent's formerly injured ankle. He put White in an ankle lock, but he was able to get out before Hangman cinched him into a second one. White escaped and did a dragon screw and put Page in a reverse figure 4. Page wasn't able to connect with a buckshot lariat, but found success with a deadeye. When White kicked out of a pin, Page went yet another ankle lock, but White reversed into a Blade Runner for the victory. An enraged Page stalked White up the ramp and hit him from behind. He was stopped by interim EVP Christopher Daniels, who ate a haymaker for daring to stop him. Page limped to the back and left Daniels and White laid out in a heap, although we did see them both later on in the evening in the main event. Konosuke Takeshita, still the AEW International Champion coming out of Full Gear. Ever since Ricochet made his debut in AEW, he's had his eyes set on the AEW International Championship. At Full Gear, Ricochet took current champion Konosuke Takeshita to war in a desperate attempt to claim the title. But by the time the smoke cleared, the Alpha retained the title in masterful fashion. Ricochet and Takeshita began the match by going blow for blow, with Ricochet's masterful aerial offense often stopped by Takeshita's sheer size and power. Takeshita attempted to stop the challenger in his tracks several times during the match, whether by sit-out powerbomb or running knee, but Ricochet remained in the fight with resilient kickouts. Don Callis, who started on commentary, marched down to ringside midway through the action and remained by Takeshita's side for the remainder of the match. Despite being present at ringside, Callis did not physically interfere in Ricochet and Takeshita's match. Newark roared with life as Ricochet lifted Takeshita onto his shoulders. Takeshita just leveled Ricochet with a pile driver, but Ricochet seemed to find stable ground as he landed an enziguri onto the AEW International Champion. Ricochet climbed the turnbuckle, seeking to capture his first title in AEW with some of his signature top rope offense, but Takeshita intercepted the challenger on the middle rope. A Falcon Arrow sent Ricochet crashing to the mat, where Takeshita pinned the challenger for the victory. The last shots of their match saw Ricochet blearily stare at the celebrating champion, dejected. As of this recording, no new challenges have emerged for Takeshita, but we'll have to wait and see what happens post-Full Gear. Now, Mariah, she has a habit of turning on the people close to her, doesn't she? AEW Women's World Champion Mariah was out to trend in the world after turning on her best friend and former Stardom tag team partner Mina Shirakawa during her championship champagne celebration at Full Gear. May had been lamenting not having a celebration since winning the championship from timeless Tony Stormer All In, Shirakawa introduced May as her friend, her partner, and the love of her life, bringing May out onto the stage. May said that it's been a tough 4 months, but it was the celebration she always desired, and there's not a single woman in the division that can touch her. She then acknowledged Shirakawa as her one true friend who she couldn't have done anything without. They toasted to her reign, and May said it was time to celebrate. The woman began dancing on the stage, but May grabbed the champagne bottle while Shirakawa's back was turned and looked to hit her with it. Shirakawa, though, turned around just in time, kicked the bottle out of May's hand. May spit in the face of her former friend, enraging her. Shirakawa speared May off the stage, and they went crashing through some tables below. Shirakawa was up first, bleeding from the mouth, and picked up May's head and bit her, screaming and crying, before security rushed her off. Now, Mercedes Moné is still the AEW TBS champion. Chris Statlander was never pinned or submitted during her AEW TBS championship reign. And on Saturday's edition of Full Gear, she took Mercedes Moné in order to win back the title she never lost. After many meteors, even more near falls, and 2 finisher kickouts, Moné defended the TBS championship by the skin of her teeth in a history-making match. From the match's very beginning, Statlander had Moné's number. The challenger started the match strong with a military press slam and a pin attempt onto Moné, to which the champion kicked out. The ring was hardly enough to cage the two women as they continued to go blow for blow on the outside of the ring. After Statlander nearly escaped a count-out loss, Moné wailed on her competition with meteor attempt after meteor attempt. Statlander answered every pin cover from the champion with a kick out at 2. The Newark crowd roared when Statlander connected with Saturday Night Fever, and they were hysterical when Statlander kicked out of the Moné Maker. After several kickouts and more hard fighting, Statlander seemed to finally have the champion figured out when she rolled up Moné into an electric chair position. Statlander attempted to drop Moné onto the canvas to close out the match, but Moné bit Statlander's leg in a desperate last resort. Statlander crumpled from the unexpected offense, and Moné rolled her up with the victory after 90 minutes and 25 seconds, the longest runtime for a women's match in AEW history. Moné relished in her victory on the floor amidst the shocked Newark crowd as she lay in the glow of yet another successful title defense. Statlander was escorted to the back by the ringside doctor. Now, MJF was victorious at Full Gear, and it looks like this feud of Adam Cole is set to continue. MJF tapped out Roderick Strong to win their grudge match at Full Gear, following up on the victory with a post-match attack that drew out Adam Cole to make the save. Strong earned his shot at absolution against MJF at Saturday's event, as he was the first between him and Cole to reach 3 consecutive victories, a stipulation laid out by the former AEW World Champion in order to determine his opponent against Shane Taylor, the Beast Mortos, and Lance Archer, but would not work out the way he intended, going at his opponent viciously as the starting bell rang. Strong was lulled into chopping the ring post. MJF took advantage of the mistake, zeroing in on the injured hand as he sandwiched it between the rod of a turnbuckle and wrenched on it. The damage to his hand became Strong's undoing as he sought to endure through to victory, landing a running knee for what looked like to be the winning move before draping the injured limb over his opponent in a pinfall attempt, thus allowing MJF to snap in the Salt of the Earth armbar and tap his opponent out. Not content with the victory, however, MJF grabbed a steel chair after the match and snapped it over the injured hand. Cole came out to make the save as MJF retreated, but the damage had already been done, and Strong was helped out of the ring by an arriving Kyle O'Reilly. O'Reilly shoved Cole out of the way, outwardly believing this to have been a consequence of his vendetta with MJF. Private Party are still the AEW World Tag Team Champions after retaining their titles at Full Gear. Private Party, Zay and Quen were successful in their first defense of the AEW World Tag Team Championships at Full Gear. The pair defeated the Outrunners, Kings of the Black Throne, and the Acclaim to keep their gold. The titles they won from the Young Bucks in the opening match of the pay-per-view. The two men were only legal at one time in the match, though it broke down pretty quickly, and Quen and Malachi started off the match. Kings of the Black Throne dominated a portion of the match, with Black hitting a diving foot stomp, then immediately following up by going off the top rope and taking out all of the other competitors on the outside. The other challengers got back in the ring to take out Black and then held on to King as Bowens hit a leg drop to his groin. Private Party got back in control of the match and hit 450 splashes onto the Outrunners, but they both kicked out. The Outrunners capitalized and hyped themselves up and went for a total recall, but Zay got out of the way and the Outrunners took each other out. They hit a total recall on King, but Caster broke up the pin. Caster and Bowens teased more dissension throughout the match, with Billy Gunn getting up onto the ring apron to try and calm things down. With both members of the Acclaim the legal men at one point, they tried to pin each other, but it was quickly broken up. Quen and Zay hit their finisher, the Gin and Juice, for the victory, then celebrated in the crowd. Now, we saw Paul White return to AEW television last night as part of the 0 Hour pre-show. Paul White made his return to AEW during the Full Gear 0 Hour as the special guest commentator for the match between the Costco guys, Big Boom, AJ, and QT Marshall, accompanying the Rizzler to the ring in his own special guest role. White, formerly known as The Big Show in WWE during his on and off 20-year run with the company, has been, of course, with AEW since 2021, both behind the booth as a commentator for AEW Dark Elevation and AEW Rampage, and in the ring as an occasional wrestler. Now, he hasn't wrestled for quite a while, over a year, during a November episode of AEW Dynamite for AEW, teamed with Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Chris Jericho against Kyle Fletcher, Powerhouse Hobbs, Konosuke Takeshita, and Brian Cage. He's since had both of his knees and hips replaced, looked to be in relatively good health upon his return, though he didn't get involved in any physicality. He's yet to officially call time on his career, having wrestled at least once every year since 2019. So if we get any more details as to what's next for the Giant, of course, we'll let you know in a future video. Speaking of that match, though, Big Boom AJ was successful in his AEW in-ring debut. Big Boom AJ brought the boom to AEW Full Gear, getting a victory over QT Marshall thanks to his son Big Justice. AJ and Marshall wrestled on the AEW Full Gear 0 Hour pre-show with AJ and Big Justice's friend The Rizzler as the guest timekeeper. AJ's wife and daughter were also in the front row, trash-talking Marshall throughout the match. AJ had Marshall on the ropes towards the end of the match when Aaron Solo came out to distract AJ. The distraction gave the adolescent Big Justice time to get in the ring and level Marshall with a huge spear. AJ then delivered a power boom, power bomb for the victory. He then celebrated with his son and the Rizzler, much to the delight of the Newark, New Jersey crowd. Of course, AJ did have a career in independent wrestling in the early 2000s, where he and Marshall's paths first crossed, but he's since found fame from his TikToks with Big Justice, The Rizzler, and other characters that populate their ever-growing ensemble. And finally, prior to Full Gear last night, we saw an appearance from Absolute Ricky Starks, not on AEW television, but for Game Changer Wrestling. Former AEW World Tag Team Champion Ricky Starks has been, for a lack of a better word, missing from AEW programming for much of the year. Starks wrestled QT Marshall an independent show in May, but otherwise he's not wrestled since March, despite reportedly being healthy. However, Starks has not only come out of hiding, but broken his silence by coming down the escalator at the American Dream Mall. Quote, "I got a lot of things I want to get off my chest," Starks said at GCW show at the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey, just roughly 30 minutes away from the Prudential Center in Newark, which of course played host to Full Gear. It had been reported that Starks was backstage at the event. Now, Starks said that New Jersey was one of the places that first accepted Starks as a star. Quote, "One thing about me, my passion runs through my blood, and I'll be damned if I sit at home and I get frozen out. I'll be damned if I sit at home and let my career dwindle. I'm 34 years old, I'm healthy, I'm goddamn good looking, and most importantly, I am a generational superstar. I am in control every step of the way. I do what I want, I say what I want, I dress how I want, and if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass." Now, Starks says that his road back to stardom will start in GCW, though not making it clear what that means to his current AEW employment. It had been previously reported that Starks and AEW were not in communication at this point. However, other reports suggest he was backstage last night at Full Gear. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.